Well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming. This is our first public forum on the Environmental Impact Report out for the John Smith Road Landfill. The reason why Don't Dump on San Benito is doing community forums is because this is the Environmental Impact Report. All 438 pages. Exciting reading, keeps you awake at night. It's a difficult read. It happens to be a difficult read because it has a lot of technical issues in here. It's not necessarily a read that our general residents are going to spend the time to look at. So with that being a given, we wanted to take the opportunity. We're not able to present everything in this impact report, but we're going to hit on some highlights and tell you what we have found and what we are seeing as potential issues, and give you an idea of how you, as citizens of San Benito County, have the right to make your voices heard. So we're going to go into how we go about getting your voices heard to the people who make the decisions. We all have a voice, we all have a right, and that's what we're here to try to do. So welcome to the John Smith proposed landfill expansion. So I'd like to introduce our team who is here this evening, who will be presenting. As I said, my name is Maureen Nelson. I am one of the co-chairs of Don't Dump on San Benito. My partner in crime, we battle, but that's the way we get things done because we have sometimes the same opinions, sometimes differing opinions, and sometimes we don't even settle on either of our opinions and go to something else. So this is Bridget. This is Bridget Baumthorpe. She is the other co-chair of our group. We have Heather Simpson-Bloom, who will be presenting later this evening. Annette Perez is over here. I have Neil Anderson over here. I've got Carl Bouchard sitting over here. And Elvia Scow is, where'd Elvia run away to?
She's down there.
Down there. Yeah. So thank you all. We wouldn't be where we are without everybody's help, so you're all so appreciated. So a little bit of background on the John Smith Road Landfill, and we've got a couple people coming in, so I'll sort of take a little bit of time here. The landfill is owned by the county. San Benito County owns the property that the landfill is sitting on. The landfill consists of 95.16 acres, if we're going to get technical, but 95 acres is our current size of land mass that encompasses our current landfill. Of that, 58 acres are consumed in waste storage. We'll call it waste storage. It's the waste pit. Of those 58 acres, just over 5 acres are a Class 1 hazardous waste site. It has been closed off, so it is not accessible. It has been encased, entombed, they call it, but it is part of the existing landfill sitting on those 95 acres. So why are we here? John Smith Road Landfill owners, operators have proposed an expansion. They want to expand the landfill up to 483 acres. 483 acres. So that will include an expansion on top of the current 95 acres of 388 acres going to the northern side. This expansion would increase the landfill capacity for waste. It will expand the total waste footprint itself, because like I was saying earlier, of the 95 acres, 58 acres is what we call the waste footprint. So out of the 483 acres, most of that will be consumed in this waste footprint of their liking. The increase, the maximum permitted elevation of the final landfill to 949 feet above sea level. If you've been out and seen John Smith Road Landfill and you've seen the terrain around it, we have beautiful mountains. They're gorgeous. They are roughly 800 to 880 feet above sea level. natural, nature-made mountains 880 feet above sea level. The landfill expansion wants to create our very own trash mountain at 949 feet above sea level. So when your grandkids are out there and they're like, Gammy, wow, that's an awesome mountain. Look at how big it is. And you go, it's trash. Nothing but trash. Is that what we want to be saying? Is that what we want to be looking at? 949 feet? It is overshadowing Mother Nature. You know what those old dads used to say? Don't fool with Mother Nature. They're looking at increasing the permitted daily tonnage accepted. You may know that as of April 1st, the John Smith Road Landfill was told they could no longer take in out-of-county waste streams. Prior to that time, they were accepting 1,000 tons per day. San Benito County provides 200 to 240 tons per day. The balance is coming from out-of-county waste streams. So, again, San Benito County, 240 tons of trash a day. That's it. Now they want to take in 2,300 tons a day. 240 tons, 2,300 ton capacity per day. San Benito County does not need that. They're also looking at, this would extend the landfill life until 2072. From now in 2022, after which the landfill would operate for an additional 15 years, again due to state regulation, for in-county waste disposal only. So they're looking at this expansion onto 483 acres to service out-of-county trash until 2072, and then continue to service San Benito County until 2087. So I'm going to end the introduction here with just an imagery so you can see for yourself. I'm going to just step away here. This is our current landfill footprint. This is the 95 acres. This, outlined in red, is the proposed landfill footprint, of which 283 plus acres will be the trash mountain. Welcome to Hollister in San Benito County, home of the trash mountain. What we're going to start off with is an overview of what we're looking at. So the proposed project would increase the landfill's permitted tonnage, again, like I said, from 1,000 tons per day to 2,300 tons. They are projected to receive both in-county and out-of-county waste, again, like I said, for the 50 years, and that the end of the life would be in 87. Next slide, that there are alternatives. It is required by CEQA law and by environmental law that when you have an environmental impact report, you present your project that you want to get, but you also have to present alternatives. So the alternatives that are currently listed on this environmental impact report include no project, continue as it is, get rid of the out-of-county, we can do 300 tons a day, of which we're not capitalizing on, and we'll figure out what we do in the future. Now they get into A's and B's, so be real careful here. 1A, they want to expand the capacity to 1,700 tons per day, and it would include an expansion onto the 388 acres. Well, I don't know about you, but I tell you what, if I buy a box of See's candy and I get a pound box or I get a 2-pound box, the minute I open up that 2-pound box, I have 2 pounds that I can eat. But if I open up the 1-pound box, I only have 1 pound that I can eat. So when we're looking at 1,700 tons a day on the same large footprint of the additional 388 acres, so for 483 acres, Do you think they're going to stop at that once they have that consumption of land available? That's the scare. Then we have alternative 1B. This one says going up to 1,700 tons a day, but it says that they would expand the landfill onto a reduced landfill footprint. Who enters a contract that says, well, it's reduced, don't know what, but hey, it's reduced? Next. Now we have 2A and 2B. 2A is going back to 1,000 tons per day. It would again consume that additional footprint of land for 483 total acreage. Again, once you own it, you're gonna use it. But they would keep the currently permitted daily tonnage acceptance limit at 1,000 tons. That would still bring in out of county. Alternative B, again, is the 1,000 tons per day, but this is where they get tricky. On a reduced landfill footprint. Don't know, but it's reduced. But once they take the land is available. It's like that 2-pound box of chocolate. Once I open it, every piece in there is available for me to eat. Alternative 3 is going to 300 tons per day. 300 tons is what they say San Benito County, with our growth that we're expecting, would consume. This would meet all of the needs of San Benito County. But now they have new verbiage. The expansion of the landfill onto a small portion of the 388 extra acres of property. Really? Once you own it, you're going to consume it. Alternative 4. This is the southern landfill. So the county owns property that is across the street to the south. They own 101 acres. They were proposing that that would be a resource recovery site, but they didn't go through with that. So now one of the alternatives is, well, we'll run the landfill that we currently have at 300 tons a day. When it's done, we will go across the street and we will turn that into a landfill, but we need an extra 67 acres so that we can store our soil stockpile. This isn't something new. The landfill currently has a soil stockpile, has had a soil stockpile. That's how they cover the waste every day. They are operating currently on 95 acres with the soil stockpile. Why all of a sudden when you get 101 acres, you need new 67 acres for that soil stockpile? Because, you know, now it needs its own resting spot, its own address, I guess. Alternative 5 is a transfer station, meaning that they would take the trash in and send it off to another landfill elsewhere. Where it is, how much it would be, we don't know. We don't pay. The landfill operators are the ones that have the contracts for operating the landfill. So they would be paying. So they say that they would continue running the landfill with the county waste until the existing capacity is reached. Now, their scare tactic to the residents of San Benito County is, ooh, we don't know where it's going to go, and we don't know how much it's going to cost, so what you've been paying now, you can bet that price is going up, and it's going to go up and up and up. Who knows? That's a nice scare, though. So here we are again. We showed you earlier the image of the landfill itself currently. This is the expansion of that landfill and all of the other waste collection sites. Welcome to John Smith Road Landfill Community Discussion. Heather?
Okay, as I mentioned before, I live in the county. We live in the Heatherwood Estates area, which is on John Smith Road, about 1.5 miles from the front entrance of John Smith Landfill. When we were divvying up the parts of the EIR to dig into, I hadn't looked at the hydrology part, I just said, oh yeah, I'm interested in water because we have all kinds of water issues out here. Little did I know how much confusing data and stuff there was, plus a big like 40-page appendix in addition to that. But my husband, who's on our water board out there, which services 48 homes, and I dug into it and wrote a lot of notes and everything. And so kind of broke out some points that really stuck out to us. The first one is, this is a map of the landfill, and the green is an indication of where when they pump the water out of the landfill basin. This is the leachate field. I can't even remember the technology. So all the water that they pump out with who knows what is in it, probably Neil will get into that in his section, goes out here and flows. This flows down John Smith Road, down here. Right about here, and not on any of John Smith Landfill's maps, is our wells for Heatherwood Estates and Fox Hill, 48 homes. They have a series of little wells and things where they have to do tests. But some of their data in the EIR is a little ambiguous. And the first day that we were sitting in there having our meeting and just kind of flipping through the EIR, Neil was like, oh, they're saying that they're putting whatever in there. I can't remember the term you used. He goes, that's just a generic term. We don't know what they use. Rinsate, right? He goes, we don't even know what they were running that water through. Who knows what that is, you know? So we currently, at this moment, 48 homes out there are on a boil water. We can't drink our water. I'm sure you guys have probably heard that San Juan Bautista has a lot of those problems. They turn on their faucet, they have discolored water. There's places in Hollister that have that. I mean, that's happening right here in California, in Central California. It's a big issue, and it's a big concern for families that are your neighbors. So I'm going to flip to the next. So these are kind of some of the things that stood out to us and that we had more questions about. And one of the things I was saying that we were kind of frustrated about is that we went to the scoping meetings, we put forth a lot of questions, and there's never really an opportunity in these big projects for residents and concerned people to get answers to these questions. They don't have like a town hall or a question and answer thing. So these were kind of some of the things, and I will be talking to supervisors and sending these to Stan Ketchum and, you know, as much as we can. But they said that testing the past couple of years that they show lower levels of leachate than in previous years. And leachate is the stuff that they pull out and run through. But they don't give specific dates, and we've been in a drought for the past couple of years. There hasn't been much rain. So what happens when it rains? You know, oh yeah, the water's not running very far right now because there is no rain. We haven't had rain. We're not seeing the massive water come down out of the hills. But what happens when we get an El Nino year again, when we get a lot of rain? The water has to go somewhere. And currently, their drainage is going right down onto John Smith Road and towards town. There was another thing where they talked about how they pump contaminated water out and they put it into a sanitary sewer line on John Smith Road. I've driven all the way out there. I've never seen a sewer out there. So I'm kind of wondering where that is. It's not indicated on any of their maps that we could find. So that was another big question that we had. If anybody knows, I'd love to know where that sewer is.
I thought it gets pumped to the wastewater treatment center.
Where does it enter?
Where? How?
It would have to go to the wastewater treatment plant in Hollister.
Yeah.
There is no county wastewater treatment plant. Is there?
No, it's all.
But how?
That's what she said.
Do they pump it into a truck and then take it? But where? Where's the pipes? We don't have sewer out where we are. We all have septic. Like, we're all out on septic out there. But according to them, it is. It's just running out. That's what they say in the hydrology part, that it's running through that green series of wells and leachate spots. And then they say they're pumping it out, and they're pumping it into a sanitary sewer line along John Smith Road. But we couldn't find any sanitary sewer. I mean, usually you can find the sewer grates and stuff, right? Because stormwater has to go somewhere.
Stormwater and sewer water typically.
Has to be collected from somewhere too.
But where would it be connected to?
Have to be piped someplace underground.
Yeah.
I mean, they could physically do it. We'd have to have a cistern or a manhole or something to pump it into. It'd have to be sealed.
So it's hidden up there somewhere and goes all the way to the treatment center?
Yes.
Yeah?
So maybe.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Yeah, right.
It has to be underground someplace.
Better do some research.
Anyway, one of the things I know Bridget has been bringing up for quite a while is that pretty much all of the landfills in California have been discovered to have PFAS in their water. The John Smith Landfill was mandated to perform PFAS testing on, so they did the testing, they discovered that leachate and PFAS was in the groundwater in January 2020. So they issued a report with their plan of what they were going to do. They formulated a work plan to deal with it. We couldn't find the work plan. Have you seen the work plan? The work plan was supposedly formulated last year in October, and it said that it included identifying and monitoring nearby wells. According to their maps, our wells for our water district are not on their map. They haven't done any testing, and the water district, none of the water districts in our area have been notified of doing any PFAS testing. So we're kind of wondering when they have to do it, if there's a deadline that they have to do it. You would think that they would notify local, people, especially people that are drinking water that's close to, they have not identified the two wells that are directly in their flow area. So this shows the new landfill, proposed landfill would be. All of these little dots indicate wells that are in that area. Our wells are here. They're not indicated on the map. So they follow, and they're right on John Smith Road. So if this is the map that they're using,
It's inaccurate.
you would think that wells that affect 48 homes would be indicated, that they drive by every day. All the trucks drive by constantly all day. Our pump house is right there, visible from the road. And then they said that it's, apparently they only have to notify within 1 mile. So we were kind of wondering, well, where they get their 1 mile radius, because it's not really a circle. it's kind of a mushed circle, and it's not really from, I mean, I guess it's kind of from the middle of the plan, but it just seems a little shady. I mean, they're identifying wells way out here that are not even downflow of where the water flows.
And that are outside of the radius anyway.
Right, and they're a bunch that are outside of the radius.
So these wells are test wells, or are they?
No, they're people's wells, the drinking water wells. Yeah.
Established.
So currently, we couldn't get an average of what they're using now for water. They have part of the daily, daily operations for a landfill is spreading water over the trash heap so that it keeps dust and things down. I couldn't find a figure anywhere of what they're currently using as far as water, but what they project to use is 400,000 gallons a month if they complete the expansion. I just want to remind everybody we're in a drought.
Where are they getting this water from?
Right.
Exactly. So You know, we deal with water stuff quite a bit, and I talked to somebody that's on our water board that actually works for the city, and we kind of calculated the average household uses about 12,000 gallons a month, an average household of 4. We have a ranch with 8 horses. We use about 10 a month. We don't have a lawn, but we have 8 horses. I mean, that's like 33 homes that water could be using. They say that they have catch basins that capture, according to their report, that they have catch basins where they're able to catch the majority of the water to use up at the landfill.
Otherwise, it goes directly into the water table, or does it have to fill underneath something protected?
Flows down. Well, I think they also
So-
assume a fair amount of that.
Right.
But the kilo doesn't.
So, but we're in a drought, so I don't feel like they could be catching enough to use for 9 months out of the year, because that's what they're saying, that they catch enough for 9 months out of the year. The other 3 months that they would be getting it, they would be getting water from a well that's on Shore Road. Yep,
That's a long way to move water.
private well. They'd be buying it off from a private well. So again, adding more traffic and and road, driving all the way out to shore. And again, and this is very complicated, my husband knows more about this than I do. Because of the way that Hollister is laid out, there's water, what are they called?
I don't know, different zones.
Different zones, right? So we might be in zone 5. They have allotments for those zones. The state wants us, our water district, to tie into Sunny Slope so we can get off our well because we have so many problems. We were told if we do that, because we're not calculated into that water zone, that we would have to pay a surcharge because we would be taking water from somebody else's zone. Right? Okay, so that's one thing, but does the landfill have to do that too? Are they gonna have to pay a surcharge from all that water they're buying from somebody else and they're pulling out of that zone, out of their water table? Because they don't talk anything about that. And then we noticed that in part of it that, they're kind of littered with generalities. Oh, we're going to use a bigger, we'll use a smaller part of the landfill.
Reduced.
How much is a smaller part? 100 acres? 50 acres? 200 acres? The part in the front? The part in the back? There's one part in the first or second page of the hydrology thing where it says, for some reason, they're talking about data here. Well, for some reason, this calculation came out totally different than something else. Well, isn't it their job to know what that reason is, why this calculation is different than this calculation? They're the ones with the experts. So, I've never read an EIR before, but that's a little concerning to me. It just seems to be pretty casual. They've been working on this EIR for easily 9 months, right?
Over a year.
Over a year, okay. It doesn't seem like they've taken into consideration, they've put a lot of things in there about how there's less than significant impact on this or that, but that seems to be based on what's happening now, that we're in drought. We're getting, 3 inches, or 2 inches of rain a year, whatever we're getting here, not very much. But again, what if we get an El Nino year? What if there's a creek running through the property like there was the first year that we moved there? We literally had a creek running through our property. That water is coming off the hills, so they don't seem to be taking in to consideration different weather patterns. We're not going to be in a drought forever. Well, you never know, but pattern has shown that, we might go several years and be in a drought, and then all of a sudden we get, some crazy storms. So these are my concerns, that we have there's a lot of generalities in there. There's a lot of, just not solid scientific mathematic calculated answers.
Ambiguities.
Yeah,
Can I ask
ambiguities.
my question?
That was it for me.
Question, Heather?
Yes.
Question over here.
Well, you know what?
I was just wondering, is PFAS one of those chemicals that causes cancer? Do you have any information about that?
Pass?
Repeat the question.
Bridget knows more about PFAS than we do.
What is the risk of,
Is it carcinogenic?
the health risk?
So yes, PFAS is one of those polyfluoral, they're the forever chemical. And yes, they have been connected to cancers. So we're going to go now into greenhouse gases. Bridget.
Landfill gas is really a part of the climate change. Methane gas is 20 times more potent than CO2, and it traps the heat in the atmosphere. So it causes our planet to heat up, and methane gas is one of the problems, and it's coming from our landfills. And I think 18% or 20% of California's landfill gases are methane gas. So California had an assembly bill. You can see the requirements that California is required to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 1990 level by 22, by 15%. And that begs the question. They got this California Global Warming Solutions Act, and yet what are we doing right now? We're creating a bigger problem by having a bigger landfill. This is not a solution. This totally contradicts this act. The solution is not an expansion. That way we have less methane gas. So I have to tell the supervisors, look at the climate change. Look at this act of 2006. And again, this whole expansion, landfill expansion, is counteractive to our laws we created to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. And we can go next. I mean, it absolutely makes zero sense to do an expansion. So what I learned with greenhouse gas, it's created by waste. Methane gas is created by our bio-waste. The stuff we throw away every day after dinner, the food waste goes in the garbage. That's the stuff that creates methane gas. And here in San Benito County, you're not supposed to put your waste, bio-waste, into the garbage. So what we learned that, Maureen and I, that the out-of-county waste, which would be 80 to 90% if they increase it, they have bio-waste in out-of-county, especially in Santa Clara County. They don't separate the bio-waste. So basically, we do the work here in San Benito County, and they bring in their trash, their bio-waste, here to our San Benito County, and exposes us to the methane gas. By the way, methane gas is a gas that has to be burned off. It's odorless. Can actually seep into the ground. It's dangerous to your health. That's why they have to burn it off in a landfill flare, and it creates CO2 in return. So if you go up to the landfill, and by the entrance you go up and you make that turn to go up to the waste station, there's a smokestack. That's where they burn off the methane gas. So it's all caused by garbage, by bio-waste, mostly. That's why it's so important to keep the bio-waste, our food waste, out of the garbage. I didn't know it would make such a huge impact. And of course, to reduce our garbage in the first place. And so again, it begs the question, if we would do a landfill expansion, the other counties, we don't know what they throw in their garbage. They don't separate. I know for my kids in Santa Clara County, they don't separate their bio-waste because Maureen and I, we looked it up. They only separate the landscaping waste. So again, we as San Benito County, we get exposed to the emissions. And here I found this a little bit interesting. The greenhouse gases, so the methane gas, they absorb infrared radiation in the atmosphere. That increases the heat in the atmosphere. Because again, we are in the middle of a climate change. I mean, I don't know if you watch the news. We have fires, extreme wildfires. Every year it's getting worse. We have floods in Kentucky. I mean, this climate, this greenhouse gas is really part of the our Earth temperatures rising. What I learned, landfill gas. So every landfill has pipes. So just think it's like a bathtub, and there's just think you dig a hole in the ground, you put certain layers of soil, clay, then you put a liner, and then you have to put pipes in there for the leachate, and then you put in the garbage, and then you have to put pipes in, horizontal and vertical, to suck out that methane gas. And that gas is hot. It's 90 to 100 degrees, which I didn't know, and 100% humidity. So I just wonder, how hot it actually is inside a landfill. It actually could be also easily a fire hazard. And it is, if it's not sucked out at a certain level, they suck out too much methane gas, oxygen can go in there and it really can cause a fire. Our laws, EPA said, we have to decrease our greenhouse gases. I just put it up there how important it is because, again, we creating another problem by doing something that can be avoided. We don't need a landfill expansion. We have this methane gas pollution, and it absolutely makes no sense in today's climate. It's like going backwards instead of forwards. Forward would be, no, we don't need the expansion, we reduce our waste. I found this very important, that landfill gas, this liner is like a rubber, it can rupture, and that methane gas can seep into the groundwater. There are no guarantees. I mean, this liner will be in there forever. Once you have the garbage piled on top of it, it's there forever. Yeah, landfill expansion would be lined. They say they line it, and it would be expected to contribute to. It can migrate to the groundwater. It's a high potential. Just think about a landfill. Let's say we have it expanded. We have it for 50 years. The methane gas production actually peaks after a closure. So let's say in 50 years, I won't be here, but won't be around, but in 50 years, our kids, they have to deal with this. 1 year after closure, they produce even more methane gas. And then they have to monitor that landfill for another 30 years. You're stuck with this, yeah. And then again, it can move through, methane gas can move through cracks, backfill material, open pipes. It's a gas. And even basements. The proposed project would cumulative contribute criteria pollutants. I know why. These emissions would combine with the criteria air pollutant and greenhouse gas emissions. Oh, there was the general plan, which could further obstruct implementation of the applicable air quality plan. So it's our own general plan, San Benito County plan, to reduce the greenhouse gas. And they were saying, I think this is very important. Greenhouse gas emission impacts would be considered significant and unavoidable. How could you put in the EIR? It's unavoidable. It doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't. I was just very passionate about it. I think we have a choice here, We can say, no, we don't need that expansion. We can reduce our garbage. This has consequences for the next generations. impact their water even more so.
Is toxic waste allowed to come into our county?
No, it's a household waste.
Okay, but who's gonna check the trucks to make sure there's not toxic
That's
waste?
the big question. That's the multi-million-dollar question.
I personally was up there last year. I saw 3 big 20 tons trucks. They're emptying it all at the same time. Nobody checked them. How can you check 3 trucks who release 60 tons of garbage at the same time? Nobody goes out there when they ramp up their truck. You can't. I haven't
Got
seen
another
it.
I was talking to a gentleman last year. He worked for a company here in Hollister, and he said their waste was shipped all the way to Arizona. Toxic waste.
Wow.
But what's
Mine
coming
goes to
into our
Texas.
county? And who's gonna check those trucks?
Yeah, that's the thing. Who's going to check these big trucks? I mean, these trucks from out of county, they're coming with 20 tons compressed garbage. You know? Yeah, it's very scary. And they immediately flatten it. You know, it gets immediately, trucks go over it, flatten it, and then. I actually, just a couple months ago, I drove by the landfill and they were doing this slope configuration and I couldn't tell what was going on. Every time these big bulldozers would drive and a big popping sound would come and I was thinking, what in the world happened up there? You know, it's almost like reminds me of propane, empty propane gas tanks. You know, and a bulldozer runs over, this popping sound. I could. No, it was probably from 2 miles away.
There are 2 people on the top of the hill when you're dumping at the dump that will actually visually inspect. There's one on top of a shipping container. It's yellow in color. There's one guy up there verifying if you're actually putting green waste in the green waste spot or the trash in the trash spot. They'll radio down to make sure you're charged the accurate, because green waste is cheaper than just typical trash. So there's one person there. Then the second person is the guy running the dozer. He also has a radio and he will communicate with the guy that sits on top of the shipping container. And so they'll work in tandem with each other to both verify. The second thing that I was going to say is, I forget what day it is because I don't have a lot of toxic waste. But they do have a day that you can bring your Roundup and paint and household contaminants that, you know, if you have a heart, you're not going to just dump into some store, right? So there is a day that you can go to the dump and dump that. I don't know exactly what they do, but I'm rather certain they put it into one container and it is shipped up. That's actually, I think it's great. The third thing is, I'm with you on the greenhouse gases. Can everybody hear me? Okay, because I kind of try to project. Now, I don't think that with current technology we can do this, but methane gas is the main component of natural gas. So natural gas is probably like a high percentage is methane. So methane is actually a useful gas that can actually do work. Now, they don't capture it here because they don't have the mechanisms to smash it down and liquefy it. There are some zero-sum landfills that actually can capture that methane, burn it, because it's just going to get burned anyway, and do some kind of work with it to generate power that actually runs the landfill. So ours isn't on a scale that's large enough to be able to do that, so we just did it. But I just wanted to let you know that methane's actually pretty good. It can do something, but it would take effort on our landfill's part and then us as a community to make that happen.
So here's the traffic haul route. The haul route used to be 25 Shore Road to John Smith. And you can see here is the landfill, you know, and all these out-of-county trucks have to come from 25. So Shore Road is the road. Go next.
That's it.
We're just gonna make sure we're doing
Yeah.
that.
Oh, you didn't have more in it. So the proposed haul route would be 25 Wright and McCluskey Road. I don't have didn't put the slide on it. That's the proposed haul route. So 25 McWright and McCluskey to 25 going to John Smith, and that's the incoming, and the outcoming route would be just Fairview and Shore Road.
This is it right here. This is McCloskey Road. It's
Yeah,
right here.
okay, we can say, yeah.
It's marked blue.
We're just gonna make sure that they're
That's
following that route.
the new and improved haul route. So incoming this way, outgoing this way. I mean, McCluskey, I don't know. If you rode on it, it's a very deteriorated country road, and you want to drive with them on 20-ton trucks. And again, the main impact would be here. These trucks would still go in and out, all on Fairview.
Thank you, Bridget. Hi, my name is Carl Broussard. I have the aesthetic. I drew the aesthetic category. It's relatively short. Two primary sections. One was the visual impact of the scenic characteristics of the mountains and from where in the city, and it's deemed significant impact on the on those views from the east, the west, and the south views of the city, from the surrounding valleys. So that was primarily it. There's not too much in that category. The second was the lumens, and it was 30,000 lumens is what will be used for security lights, I presume at night. There's not very much detail given on the spans of the area that these lumens will project. It wasn't clear in the report if the lumens will be one house, one section of lighting, or is it over like 5 football fields? You know, and they say the lights are pointing down. Well, football lights point down as well. So how tall are the poles? With what expanse are these lumens, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So nothing was in the report about that. No character, no examples, no comparables were given in the report. So that's something we need to maybe do a little research or make some requests on. What are the hours that the lights will be on at night? Will they affect the skyline? And what is the dumping operations? How late will the dumping operations go? Nothing was given in the report on this section. So, who's next?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Has anybody talked to the Boers? I mean, they're chasing their vineyard, and the concert venue is just outside of this area.
Right.
And if they have these lights on all night, this could impact the view from their concert area.
Absolutely. Again, it's a question of how spans is it? Does it light the whole sky or just a small portion of the sky? And what time do they go off? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We tried to give an idea of when they were talking 30,000 lumens, what does that mean? Because I didn't, I've heard the word lumens, but what the heck, I deal in watts. So if you have a 100-watt light bulb, it would be 18.75 light bulbs for that 30,000 lumens. That's a lot of light bulbs. That's a lot of
if
light.
you're going to have 30,000 whatevers of light, there's no reason for them to point outwards. The only reason to point be inwards because you're protecting the garbage receptor because nobody's stealing your garbage. And if you're going to, I can only say that it's going to have a 900 feet tall thing. You have to have red lights so you can warn planes. And there's no reason to have it on all night, quite frankly. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, security lighting, okay, fine, if you're gonna have a security guard or something, but there's nobody there.
We'll have to ask and get more detail. We don't know.
Yeah, there's so many questions in this report. And the bottom line is, who's gonna explain all this to the Board of Supervisors?
Carl, did they have any mitigation for the ugliness? Were they planning to plant trees or do anything to disguise?
They said they will put up barriers. It wasn't really defined. I presume it's walls and trees.
Ambiguity is the name of the game.
Exactly. Okay. Just curious.
But on that topic, you'll be able to see the change in the mountain landscape from Highway 25 and all around the
Well, I
valley.
mean, we can already see it from our property, and I'm imagining it going another 30 feet up, right? It's
Right.
going to definitely be noticeable. So. Okay.
You certainly had a question back there as well.
Having lights at night leads me to believe trucks will be delivering 24/7.
That's a question to
No,
ask.
the operating hours are not going to be changing according to the EIR.
Okay.
It'll still be the regular operating hours. I think they close at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe.
Okay.
5 maybe at the latest.
So
And
security lighting.
supposedly they don't open until 8 a.m. in the morning. but trucks do arrive there earlier.
Was there a light pollution ordinance now in place in San Benito County?
As I read, there's a maximum 50,000 lumen ordinance, and this would, but they said they would only reach 30,000. But again, it's not clear on what that means as far as light pollution, so close to the city.
Right. Okay, thank you everybody. My name's Annette and I did noise, and I am no way going to give you guys any technical information about noise. So only thing I did was look at the noise section, and from a person with like common sense, what stuck out to me in the EIR. So for me, what stuck out was they did a measurement on table 4.5.3, and it states that the noise levels were recorded at the landfill entrance between the hours of 7:40 a.m. to 8:01 a.m. And to me, that noise measurement makes no sense at all because our landfill does not open until 8 a.m. So how can that possibly be an accurate measure of noise? So that to me made no sense at all. Also, in addition, there was some information regarding schools and other sensitive uses of noise that were acceptable, and it was 65 decibels were normally, and anything over that were unacceptable. And I saw on top of page 4.5.8 that the trucks that drive by the school, there's that Rancho Santana on, that's Fairview and Hillcrest. There's a school right there that the decibels at 50 feet from the school are 75 decibels at 50 feet with noise control. So those were well over the maximum decibels for schools. In addition, it said on the noise table in 4.5.7 that the noises at the landfill with the proposed expansion on Fairview between Hillcrest and John Smith Road will be 68.2. And then by 2035, if the proposed landfill is agreed upon, it will be 72.2, which are not acceptable. And do we want our school kids to be, yelling over the trucks and, playing outside with all those trucks and all those, noise? I don't think so. So for me, that was my job. Those are the things that I found in the noise section. I'm sure there's others, but for me, that stood out as how can that be accurate when you're taking noise levels when the landfill's not even accurate. And so next is Bridget. Geology. Oh, there's a question.
How close is the school to the landfill?
The school to the landfill is how many miles? 1.2?
1.2 miles.
1.2 miles now.
It's on a truck route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're driving, whatever they're going to do, that's the truck route they're proposing right now, is going past that school on Fairview. There's an option of maybe coming up Fairview or going even farther down Highway 25 and coming up Best Road. But right now, what they're proposing is still going down that section of Fairview, which is right along that school. And there is going to be another school. There was a letter written last year when they were talking about this EIR, and it was from the superintendent because they're talking about a new high school on Best Road for 1,200 to 1,400 students. So that's the other route that they're talking about maybe. Let's go by the high school where you have teenagers driving. Yes, Heather.
I just wanted to mention that when we were looking through the noise section that we noticed that they admit that they're already exceeding the noise thing, but they say that no mitigation is necessary because they've been doing it already, so they don't need to mitigate it.
Wow.
So I guess unless our neighborhood goes and complains that you're violating the noise ordinance and driving by all these homes.
The school is only there for a year, how can they come up with that ordinance?
Yeah. Well, right, the school is brand new, but I mean, they've been driving by all these homes that are on John Smith Road and Best Road.
Right. That is a good point.
But just driving with the garbage alone, it smells and it's pollution. So how is all of this happening? I don't get it. It's just,
And they're going 60
it's not
miles an
making
hour.
sense.
Down that road, they are not.
I'm lost.
Yeah, my parents live on Fairview. An issue that I have noticed when I spend time with them is the trucks that were coming from out of town, and I don't know if that's going to continue. I guess time's going to tell on that. But those trucks coming in are going probably about 60, sometimes a little bit faster. And then now that we finally put some stoplights up on Fairview, they'll see the light. The load is so heavy that they'll employ not just the brakes for the trucks, but a compression type brake that uses the engine's compression, sometimes called a J brake. And it emits this really loud burr sound on deceleration. And they're illegal to use in residential areas, but Fairview's not strictly speaking considered residential, although people live right up and down that whole corridor. But in order to make the light, they're hitting the Jake brake in addition to their regular brakes. And on top of that, because the roads are getting so thrashed, the truck and the trailer and the pounding sound is pretty loud. It's way above 65. My parents live right there. It's just Jake brakes, and then the truck and trailer pounding. And then to answer this young lady's question, that school is probably like 200 yards from what it looks like Fairview Road.
Yes.
And I can't imagine, because they're going to be decelerating in a similar way, because there's a little bit of a hill by the fire, the CDF station. If that yellow or that red light comes quick, they're going to have to decel. They're going to have to do the same thing they do next to my parents.
Right. It is, and it does happen, because I've been at that stop sign and I've heard that noise. I didn't know what that meant, but I've heard that noise. So it's definitely, and I just want to remind everybody, right now we're in a little sweetheart period where we are at the landfill. It's already at its maximum capacity, 15 years. They no longer can take out of county trash. So right now, the noise you are hearing is not accurate. It's not what the landfill has been. So for me, with this noise level, I don't even know how they would give us a true noise level at the landfill, because they are not operating the same way they were bringing that same out-of-county trash right now. They had to stop. And in fact, Waste Connections did not want to stop. They wanted to continue to take out-of-county trash when we got to our 15 years of useful life and ship our waste out of county. And because our group and many others spoke up at one of the supervised meeting and told them that how could they allow for a transfer? It was going to be a temporary transfer station that you and I would have to pay for permits and for things to happen so that they can continue to take that out of county trash and ship our trash off somewhere else. And so we attended that supervisor meeting, and we all told them that you must listen to us, that you have to say no, make them listen to that contract. They should not continue to take the out of county trash. The law is you only take in-county, you use in-county trash in that landfill, stop taking the out-of-county. Luckily, we had 4 out of 5 supervisors that listened to us. One of them didn't even want to hear from us. She already voted yes to go ahead with the permit process. So I think it's very important for all of you to make sure you know who your supervisors are. Make sure you let them know how you feel. Another fun, geology, soils, and...
I just want to add to the traffic that in the EIR it says the traffic hazard is significant. So it's not mitigated, it will have a significant impact, especially the haul round. I mean, they're coming with diesel trucks on Fairview. Fairview will be the most impacted.
More trucks and carrying trash down Fairview doesn't just mean more at the dump, it means more all up and down the road, because trash blows out. I mean, legally it has to be covered, but it blows out of the trucks all the time. And what you'll see is guys will actually come uncovered, they'll pull over before the dump, then put the cover on briefly so they come in and not get in trouble. But it just means more trash the whole route basically. So
yeah, in the EIR it literally says the litter is significant. It's not even mitigated. It literally says it will be significant. And so we wanted to put that slide and remind people that we are in earthquake countries. We have fault lines. And as you can see, the landfill is right in the middle of these 2 fault lines. Here's the Quinsabi, the Calaveras, and I think here, I live in Santana Ranch. I know we've had 4 point something over the last couple of years. I can feel the shakers. My house has a few little cracks here and there, and
get used
I
to that
cannot
for a while.
imagine that this will be not affected. I mean, there's an epicenter and the waves just spread out.
What about paleontology? You looking for fossils?
I'm sorry?
Paleontology, you looking for fossils?
Indian burial grounds.
That's also
Be great.
That's what we need to find.
That's we go.
Yeah, here, exposure of people and structures to slope instability. I was really surprised how, especially with the slope reconfiguration, how could they put all this extra trash on a slope? And I think we can just keep
Are we going to Neil?
landfill hazards.
All right, Neil.
Landfill hazards.
Hello, my name is Neil Anderson. I reviewed the draft EIR on the hazardous materials, and it says wildfires. And I found some discrepancies in here that are worth noting. And I got to tell you, I have a handful of documents, and I'm getting bits of information from different places. So it's kind of scattered. I'm going to try to put this together as best I can. I think what we need to do really quick is review what a hazardous material is. And let's go with a really great definition from the California Health and Safety Code. In the EIR, we use their own definition of what a hazardous material is, so we're all on the same page here. And hazardous wastes are defined as waste that, because of their quantity, concentration, or physical, chemical, or infectious characteristics, may either cause or significantly contribute to an increase in mortality or an increase in serious illness, or possess a substantial present or potential harm to human health or the environment when improperly treated, stored, transported, disposed of, or otherwise managed. So let's make no mistake about the mountain of garbage. It's hazardous material. And included in that hazardous material, since it was brought up, is toxic waste. You throw a battery away, a lithium battery, that's heavy metal, that's toxic, that's bad stuff. Just so you know, the EIR says that they mention a date of 1977 is when the dump was begun. The dump was originally opened in 1968. And back then, all the waste could be mixed together and just dumped. Hazardous material was accepted with what you would call household waste. So they were just dumping everything in a pit and covering it up. That's an unlined pit, guys. So from 1968 until 1974, we got 6 years of unlined dumping that I know of. I'm not even sure at the 1974 point or not, if when they started to dump the things in different areas, whether they lined the new dump area. I looked. I could find no reference of lining the 1974 Class 1 hazardous materials disposal facilities being lined or not. And I looked all over the internet. I spent hours looking. So that is an unanswered question. I have no clue. But I know that definitely from 1968 through 1974, we have an unlined hazardous material waste site. And that's interesting to note because the United States government, the EPA, has found that to be a Superfund cleanup site by the RCRA, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. And it's even been amended the money for cleanup. So that's been identified as a dangerous area, a toxic area that needs mitigation, and that's why you have pumps. Those pumps, those wells and things, they would be put there unless the government enforced it, which kind of makes you wonder where's the mindset of the people that run these places. Are they really concerned about our health or not? Are they? Do you think they care about your health? No. Let's use some common sense. They care about the greenback dollar. They care about the money, right? Okay, this is what it's about. This is really all about money. I want to talk about something here. There's a thing called, back in the old days, they had PCBs. Remember PCBs? Yeah. So back in the day, we had polychlorinated biphenyls, and that's what they call a POP, a persistent organic pollutant. And we had DDT, which was banned in 1972. That's also a POP. The interesting thing about DDT is, under the best conditions, it has a half-life. Half of it will break down in 22 days. Under worst conditions, the half-life of DDT is 130 years in water. Now we're talking about the water as being a mechanism to transport chemicals from the dump down into our wells. There's a potential that DDT will be present for 130 years, and then when it breaks down, it turns into another chemical called, I believe, DDD, which is even more hazardous to humans than DDT. So you think, hey, that stuff breaks down and it's less. No, it gets worse. And that happens with a lot of things. Plastic is fairly inert when you're drinking out of a plastic bottle, but when it breaks down, it turns into these forever chemicals, which then get into our water. And here's another great thing about our government. They tell the truth sometimes.
Really?
Here it is, right there. US EPA archive document about the dump. What they say is that the liner that we have is good for 30 years. They got a guarantee, they got a warranty on the liner of 30 years. Your liner happens to be compressed clay, right? They take some clay and they compress it, 6 inches to a foot of clay, and then they put a plastic liner over the top of that, right? Which is the stuff that's going to break down and cause chemicals anyways. So we got a plastic liner with all the garbage on it. And it says it's not a matter of whether or not that liner is going to break, it's going to break. They say they're going to go. It's bad news. They're going to leak. And what we have is we have a dump that's going to be persistent for at least 1,000 years. You've got 1,000 years of garbage on a 30-year liner. The stuff's going to come rolling down the hill. You know, the water, in particular, the leachate. In the draft EIR, they mention that there's no school within a quarter mile. A quarter mile. Okay, now this is crazy. A quarter mile, there's no school. So they say, so we're not going to address the issue of children in schools being near the dump. But we do have a school, which is what? We're going to give it 2 miles? Mile and a half. According to the EPA, right here in these documents, the minimum safe distance to live from a dump is 2 miles. We've got a school that's closer to the dump than the EPA's recommended distance. We're at half a mile closer to the dump than it should be. Now, you know, when you think about it, it's bad enough for an adult who's maybe at the end of their life to be exposed to this stuff. But when you start with children that are 5 years old, you have this bioaccumulative kind of effect. And they get started right out from the beginning. But they're not just getting the dust and the potential of, believe this one or not, odorless, colorless gases oozing up through the ground. They're getting it in the drinking water. So they're getting a superdose. That's what you're exposing the children to. And that's a mile and a half right now. You know, I think if they expand the dump, if you look at the dump where they plan to expand it, they plan on coming down the hill and to the north, which will even bring it closer to the school. They want to bring it down towards the population center. So, you know, when John Smith Landfill was originally put up there wasn't a lot out here, right? But now we got people all over the places and houses. And all for what? For the amount of money they get? So what we have in this EPA document, and this is about a 2000 document, it's actually quite old. They found cancer-causing chemicals in the water at this time. There's a list of them right here if you're interested. But they found cancer-causing chemicals in the water already. And we're talking like a mile and a half down the hill. And the other thing is this. People say, well, the water's down underground. Okay, well, when you're at the top of the hill, they found the water's 150 feet below the surface at the top, which makes sense, you know. It's hard to find water on top of a hill. But you come down to the front gate, the water's 20 feet below the front gate. You have a water table, 20 feet below the front gate. When you come down the hill to where Fairview is, you have standing surface water. You have water right on the surface. So when you see that pond there, from the rain and things like that, it's almost like an artesian well, right? It's oozing up out of the ground. That will have cancer-causing material in it, according to this report. So that's in the EPA's own words. So those are some of the discrepancies I found and things we want to look at. Hazardous waste is no joke. they say they're going to monitor everything that gets dumped in there, but there's always a bunch of stuff in there that's already been dumped. That's a handful of itself. So much so that the federal government decided it needs to be cleaned up. And of course, they shut down the dumping of hazardous materials, or they shut down of using it as a hazardous waste disposal facility, because there's a class of materials. So they consider household stuff as household hazardous waste. They make a distinction between the two. And that's because the stuff that was going in there before was so toxic you don't want to mess with it. Insecticides, fertilizers, just things you don't want to play with. That's about the general gist of it, and we just want to use our common sense and understand that there's various ways of transmission for this stuff, not just the water. You've got it through the air, through the dust, through, and this is a good one, through rodents and animals and birds becoming infected with disease and bringing it down the hill. And as far as noise goes, they say they're going to kick off bombs and things like that to scare away birds and stuff like that. So that'll be a sound thing. Alrighty. Okay.
Got a hand up.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. So the one thing that I'm wondering if we've touched on is all these trucks that are coming in down Fairview and the neighboring roads, the tires that are doing the wear and tear on the roads, because there's all kinds of chemicals that are emitted through the tires and that traction, and that goes into the air, and that goes right up into the elementary schools and the other schools. And so there's a lot of real pollutants that are let off through the transport of these trucks going back and forth all day long. Has there been any discussion about that?
I didn't see anything mentioned about the trucks in the hazardous materials section of the report. So that would probably be under more the roads and traffic and things like that. But right, asbestos is in the brake shoes. And that'd be another chemical that's probably buried up in the hill from the old days. They probably just deposit asbestos up there as well.
Is there an estimation how many trucks a day?
I wouldn't know.
How many trucks are coming in? So they're looking at potentially 71 out-of-county trucks. Those are the big dogs coming through.
So that's instead of doubles, right?
Mm-hmm. 71 a day. So they have, when you start looking at facts and figures in this EIR, they have two different definitions. They have the highest tonnage days and the highest vehicle days. The highest vehicle days at the landfill are on the weekend, because it's me taking my cardboard that I had too much of, or my extra wood that I have to get rid of. So it's more the mom and pops and nieces and nephews that are living around that are taking, home repairs and scrap to the dump. That's why there's the highest vehicle days is on the weekend. The highest tonnage days, Monday through Friday, when we're bringing in 5 sources of out-of-county waste. So just wanted to clarify that. I am amiss on a couple things, so let me take us back to the beginning.
Who was a friend of mine, but she's also a candidate for mayor this year for Hollister. So if any of you live within city limits, or even if you don't and you're concerned with who's running for mayor, please take a moment to meet Mia and let her know of any concerns you may have about Hollister, ask her any questions, get to know her, because she's a new candidate for mayor. Thanks.
So you said within the city limits, does that mean if we're county, we're not
Can't vote
voters?
for mayor.
Yeah, we're county.
Yeah.
Mia was saying one of the things that she would like to do if she became mayor was to try to incorporate some of, at least the little pockets that are in the city limits, because that's kind of stupid. There's, like her brother lives in one of those little pockets where there's 7 houses. It's in Sunny Slope Village. There's 7 houses that are counted. Even though we can't vote, there are a lot of issues, especially right now, that are affecting those of us that are right there on the county line.
We introduced our first guest. We have a second guest. We have Dom Zanger with us. Dom, go ahead and wave. Let everybody know. Dom is, for everybody's knowledge, I invited Betsy Dirks. She is the sitting County Board of Supervisors for District 1, which is where the landfill is situated. She is in a runoff in November with Dom Zanger for District 1. I invited both of them to join us tonight. Betsy was unable to join. She said that she might send a representative, which is perfectly fine. We did not invite any other Board of Supervisor members. I understand I could have had one other. I didn't want to take the chance because of the Brown Act. So it is not a conflict to have both Betsy and Dom present here together, or Betsy's representative, because only one of them will hold the seat after the November election. So thank you, Dom, for coming. We appreciate you taking the time. I'm glad that you got a chance to hear your constituents in San Benito County. They may not all be in District 1, but you're voting potentially on behalf of San Benito County. So thank you for coming.
Is Betsy's rep here?
Do we have Betsy's rep? We do not. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
There's another thing here that I would like to read, and it is talking about the sensitive receptors located along the roadway segment include the Santana Ranch subdivision, which we've been talking about with the school, with the elementary students, and Rancho Santana School north of John Smith Road along Fairview Road as represented. For criteria pollutants, the highest emissions of either the peak trip or peak tonnage day traffic, remember we just had that discussion, were used. They were similar, assuming that all other days would be less. So always going to have the most emissions on the peak tonnage, and the peak traffic vehicle runs into the landfill. So I have to say a quick story. I'm sorry. My partner in crime, Bridget, I was telling her, you know, I'm so tired of seeing all of these things about, we'll deal with it later. We'll figure it out later. We'll do this. I said, it reminds me of Wimpy. And she looked at me and she's like, what? And I said, you know, Wimpy. Don't you remember Wimpy from Popeye? And she's like, she gave me that, you know, glassed eye look like, you are nuts. So I had to explain to Bridget, who did not grow up in the United States, love her because she brings her German culture to us, which we have to respect everybody's culture, said, tell me, Wimpy. So I want to talk about the fiscal contracts with unknown costs. And I put up Wimpy here because it's like, I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Well, that's what our county's doing. Let's figure it out on Tuesday what we're going to sign for today. So let's look at this if we could. So there's some missing financials in this contract. My question is, do we want our county government committing to financial contracts without knowing any financial costs? For example, would you buy a house, take possession of that house that you're so in love with, only to be notified months later after you have moved in that you assumed you purchased that house for $600,000, but guess what? It's $1.2 million that you own because we didn't have any figures in that document at the time you sold and bought, and now you signed a contract and you're liable for that payment. Why should the voters of San Benito County be willing to allow our county board of supervisors to enter into a fiscal contract with no known or clear financial scope? We wouldn't do it as residents. We wouldn't do it in our own homes. We wouldn't do it going to the grocery store. We wouldn't do it going and getting gas. We want to know what we've committed to. Why would we allow them to commit our dollars with no cap, no dollar amount at the time of signing? That's not how you do business in my life. So there's some wonky things in this EIR. And again, there's a couple of you that have come later. I held up the EIR. That's it. 438 pages. Understand why most people don't want to read it. Don't have the time to read it. We get it. We took a team of people to try to dissect portions of it. It is massive. And that's only the EIR. There is an appendix that is 948 pages long, one out of 4 appendices. So, in with these missing financial in the contract, there is a statement, the applicant shall ensure that funding is provided for the reconstruction of portions of Wright Road and McCloskey Road used for the purpose of the haul route. The applicant and the county will enter into a reimbursement agreement that will reimburse the applicant for reconstruction costs in excess of the applicant's fair share. What? Huh? What does that mean? This measure shall be implemented on a schedule to be specified by the county and agreed by the county and the applicant, such that the reconstruction shall occur prior to use of the Wright Road and McCloskey Road haul route by out-of-county commercial vehicles. Yeah! Landfill operator, you go ahead. You redo McCloskey Road, you repave it, you widen it, you have to move the lights, you have to move the emergencies because you can't have a right turn lane there going on to Fairview right now. That's a given. We don't know what it's going to cost. We don't know what you're going to charge us. We'll worry about that later. You just go do it.
Why should we pay for it?
Right. It's servicing them. There is vague and undefined details in this project. Examples. They would expand the landfill onto a reduced landfill footprint. That's an alternative 1B. What does that mean? What's a reduced alternative footprint? Expansion of the landfill onto a small portion of the 388.05 acre expansion property. That was an alternative 2B. Include the expansion of the landfill onto a small portion of the 388.05 acre expansion property. That was, again, an alternative 3. Constructing a transfer station on a property in or near the city of Hollister to transfer waste to another landfill. That's alternative 5. Yeah, transfer it out. I don't know where you're going to gather it. I don't know what it's going to cost us. You go do it. We trust you. So trash is hauled from John Smith from outside counties. Per the San Jose.gov website, they state the following on their website. According to the State Bill 1383 that Bridget was talking about, this is on the San Jose.gov website. San Jose residential garbage and recycling is compliant with State Bill 1383 because organics are already composted. Just remember, this is verbatim also, just remember that food and food-soiled items belong in the garbage and not in your yard trimming piles or carts. Keep your organic material out of your recycling container. That's a T. That's my misspelling. Does John Smith Road Landfill bring in San Jose residential garbage? We don't know. We don't know. We know that they're bringing in out of county, but if they're bringing in San Jose residential garbage, they have a different sorting system evidently in San Jose than we have, so their garbage would have organic waste leading to more methane gas. Okay, so here's some takeaways, some thoughts, some questions that we'd like to have you ponder about. Does San Benito County need to be the dump site for out-of-county trash? Does John Smith Landfill need to be expanded to meet the needs of San Benito County? No. We have 15 years to meet the social and environmental demands of our times. Practice the 5 R's. Start now. Refuse it. No, I don't want that brown paper bag. No, I don't need that plastic bag. No, I don't need that extra packaging. Reduce it. Reuse everything you can. Recycle it and rot it. Rot it away. Compost. 5 R's. The roadway repair costs outweigh the enterprise funds provided by Waste Solutions. The county gets enterprise funds. It is roughly $1 per ton. So, the roadway repair methodology, I want to show you an example. You've all driven down Fairview. You saw that nice section of 3 miles that was repaved.
With the light?
You saw all of the big signs. Thank you, John Smith Road Landfill, for repairing our roads.
And the lights
Yep.
out there now?
They did it in English and Spanish. They did it on both sides, very large signs. I had asked other residents, had they ever seen any signs like that previously? Never. Well, guess what? It's because Don't Dump on San Benito is making a stand, and the residents are hearing it. So now John Smith Roadfill is like, Landfill, Roadfill, wow, is publicizing. We did this for you. Thank us, thank us, thank us. We did it. Well, no, you chewed it up and you had to fix it. And the enterprise fund, the methodology is that it's $400,000 to repair 1 mile of roadway, 2 moving lanes, and 1 center lane. That's what we have on Fairview. So when you look at the 3 miles that they repaired, that cost $1.2 million. That was the amount of funds the county received from enterprise funds from the landfill operators. There were additional repairs needed along the haul route that were not addressed. So yes, the county gets funds. Yes, they get it. Does it meet the needs of the damage that's done to the roads by the haul routes? No, but we got 3 miles. Thank you, John Smith Road Landfill. Is the county actually netting any revenue from the landfill and potential expansion when factoring in the environmental damages, the infrastructure maintenance, the roadway congestion, the health and safety of our residents? Are we actually making anything on this landfill? Are you willing to risk the health and safety of yourself, your children, and all future generations? That's ultimately what it comes down to. So the county receives $1 per ton for road repairs. So the average daily tonnage is 1,000 tons or less. That was when they were open to taking out of county trash. Remember, they were allowed 1,000 tons per day. The fee shall be 16% of the gross revenue for that quarter. Initially $4.84 a ton. Now understand that this is pretty vague because they're only giving money, Waste Solutions, Waste Connections, the operator of the landfill, is only giving money to the county based on out of county trash coming in. They're not giving the county any revenue off of in-county refuse. So if the average daily tonnage is greater than 1,000 tons, this is their proposal in the new EIR, or equal to 1,250 tons, the fee shall be 18% of the gross revenue for that quarter, initially at $5.14. If the average daily tonnage is greater than 1,250, but less or equal to 1,500 tons, the county will receive 22% of the gross revenue, which would equate to $6.14 a ton. And if the tonnage exceeds 1,500 tons a day, we'll get 27% for $7.44 a ton. Is that blood money or what? We are giving up our safety, our road congestions, our lives, our livelihoods for other people's trash. So, thank you for coming. What can you do? Get involved. Write comments. Get vocal. Tell your friends and neighbors. So right now, the comments on the EIR, and again, this EIR came out on the 15th of August. July. We're in August now. Time is flying by. I have had no sleep for the last 3 days going through that EIR, I have to say, so I apologize. You are by law allowed 45 days for public comment. They can give more, but guess what? Our Board of Supervisors gave us 45 days, just the minimum amount. That's all we got. So, with that being said, comments can be directed to Stan Ketchum, S-K-E-T, and I have a flyer for this, S-K-E-T-C-H-U-M at C-O SBUS. We also suggest that you copy either your Board of Supervisor or all of the Board of Supervisors, because they all need to know. Because somebody may be wanting to vote one way, but if their friends on the board are talking to them, maybe it changes their mind or confirms to them to go the way they're going. So we've got everybody's emails here.
It's on the back of the flyer on the table.
And she's passing
Thank
that.
you. Got one?
And the EIR, if you are bored, want some snooze time reading, can't go to sleep, you can find it online, County Board of Supervisors. And again, the EIR is 438 pages, and then there's 4 appendices. Appendices C is over 900 pages in and of itself. So we thank you all for coming. It is our passion, it is our concern for our community, our county, and we're letting our voices be heard. Join us.
Who's Ketchum?
Stan Ketchum he's in the planning department, and he's the one who is in charge of releasing the EIR, handling the notice of preparation and all of the comments. Speaking of the notice of preparation, Heather had made mention, and I don't know if you caught it, she and her husband had made comments and written a letter, and so when the EIR came out, they came out with all of the letters that they got and all of the comments they got, and guess what? Didn't see it, did ya? Wasn't there. They're the ones that have the well right down from the landfill for their community of 45 homes. Their letter, their comments disappeared.
Can you do a high level, just what's going to happen the 45 days? After the 45 days, the supervisor will answer questions of the supervisor.
Yep.
Kind of just do a high.
Yep. So again, legally we are given 45 days. That will take us to the 29th, a Monday in August. They count the weekends in those 45 days. They're not 45 working days, they are 45 days. Because of the size of the EIR, the complexity of it, the vagueness in the EIR, the questions that aren't answered, we are going to put in and ask for an extension as our group. There is no guarantee that we'll get an extension, but we are certainly going to ask. It does not hurt to ask for an extension, so if you as citizens of San Benito County go, wow, are you kidding? I've been trying to read this. I keep nodding off, you know. The bathtub's calling my name. I have no water to put in it, but, you know, I need extra time to get through 438 pages and the appendices because I work, I have a life, I have children. Whatever it is, this is an astronomical feat that they have placed upon us. And this isn't new. I'm not trying to say that they did this and nobody else ever does this. I have 2 environmental science degrees, both a bachelor's and a master's, and I have a second master's in business. I get it. I've seen these. You know, you just make them so big, so clunky, so obscure that nobody wants to take the time to read it. You start going through and you're like, oh, I'm 5 pages into this section, I got it. I'm not going through all 102. And sometimes that's what they're hoping for. That's exactly what they're hoping for. I can't tell you that that's what they're hoping for here, but this is not an anomaly by any means to have an EIR that's this big. But with that in mind, please send in and go, I need time. I can't even digest this, let alone think of how I want to address it and have your replies back to me. So write to your Board of Supervisors, write to Stan Ketchum, copy all Board of Supervisors. Again, it's the friendship thing. Oh, what are you doing? Why do you do that? Oh, you got that out of it? I didn't get that out of it. Because they do talk. They're going to talk to each other. They're going to have a discussion amongst the board. That's what they're there for. So include them all. And again, thank you for your time.
So what we really need you guys to do is, you know, our goal is to get you guys to write comments regarding the EIR because the supervisors want to fast track this. They want to get it done before November, before the elections. They want to make this happen with the current sitting supervisors. So by law, they have to give us 45 days from the day of the release of the EIR. So what we're encouraging all of you is to write comments, what you find about the EIR, what things you're worried about, concerned about. Along with that, CCing your supervisors. Then what's going to happen is the committee has to answer our questions. Every single one of our questions, which gives us time, right? And what that will give everybody more time to be aware of what's going on and what they want to do to our landfill, our community landfill, right? So after they answer those questions, what's going to happen is our 5 supervisors are going to make the decision whether Waste Connection gets their expansion. Now, Waste Connection already owns that land. So what they're going to do, at the goodness of their heart, is give that land to us because they are the big winners. They are the ones who get the most revenue out of this landfill. So it's very important for us, we see it as a strategy, is to write those comments and questions, to catch them, CC the supervisors. That will give us time and give them time, make sure they address all those concerns. Write your supervisor, let them know that however you feel about the landfill, and then that way they also know, because the goal is that they vote on this before November and they get it a done deal. So that's their goal. Our goal is not that, but that is their goal. So we just want all of you citizens, get your concerns out there, write Stan Ketchum, get those questions answered. They have to answer our questions. Once those questions are answered in writing and publicly, then they can vote on it.
So Annette brought up another great point, that 388 additional acres that they want to bring into the landfill footprint, that was purchased by Waste Connections for $7 million. Waste Connections is going, we want to give it to the county. It's our gift to the county. By giving that to the county, Waste Connections will not pay any property taxes on a $7 million valued piece of land. No property taxes. Give it to the county. If there's hazardous waste on it, give it to the county. If there's endangered species on it, it's the county's. It's not ours. We don't need it. We shouldn't want it. So in with all of those alternatives, there was one where they were talking about, and it was one of the side notes. It wasn't one of the top 5 that they had listed. They want to take that land that we talked about was going to be used for the resource recovery, that 101 acres, and turn that into a new landfill once the current landfill is consumed and closed. And then they want an additional 67 acres. My question is, why? Since 1968, the John Smith Road landfill has been operating on 95 acres. They've had their soil stockpiles on that 95 acres while they have a fully functioning operating landfill. Why now all of a sudden are they saying, well, if we get that 101 acre lot, we need another 67 acres, because we got stockpiles of soil. It gives them 67 more acres to expand on what they did throughout their alternatives. Well, we'll do a smaller waste stream, but we'll still take all 388 acres in with what we have. No, again, once you open up the cookie jar, it's there to be consumed. So, again, thank you all. Yes, another question.
I just heard a question. How far back in years have we been allowing out-of-county trash in our county?
2014.
So since the current operator's been in business.
Right. Oh, and those current operators, you'll see 2 confusing names, Waste Connections, Waste Solutions. It's Waste Solutions in San Benito County. It's Waste Connections as the mothership. When you look at waste haulers and businesses in the United States, they are in the top 3 in the country. Why do we have one of the top 3 waste disposal operators and haulers in San Benito County? Go gold mine. Bring in the out of counties, make it bigger, take in 2,300 tons because you know San Benito's only giving us 200.
I want to say one more thing, Dom, especially to you. I feel really the future of San Benito is at stake because I feel like if we allow this landfill expansion, will be the San Benito, Hollister will be the designated mega dump. Will be known as the other Milpitas, the stinky town. And we are allowing these dump trucks hauling trash, littering our roads.
Extra greenhouse gases.
Yeah, and all the emissions, exposing our kids to it. Do we really? Is this the future for the next 50 years? And then the threatening our groundwater. It just doesn't make any sense. San Benito County is beautiful. It's green. It has organic farming. It has rural roads. We don't want to destroy that.
And the horses are.
I mean, I really feel this landfill expansion would be a huge game changer for Hollister. And especially with Milpitas, Milpitas got the reputation, it smells there, By the way, I drove down 101 by past Morgan Hill, and I saw seagulls flying in the air. And guess where they're coming from? From the Kirby landfill. I don't know how many times I drove to John Smith Road and there were seagulls. Tons of seagulls up there. Do you know seagulls, they're toxic. They're dropping somewhere, And then again, there's also this thing about the vermins, if there's organic waste in there, even though they're covered, there could be rats, mice, who knows what's up there in the landfill.
So we've got a list on the table. If you would be so kind to give us your name, your email address, we will keep you in the loop. We will then circulate the letter that we can present as a group for signatures to be added onto it. We will never sell your information to anybody or give it to anybody. That is not our purpose in this. Our purpose is to unify as a community, as San Benito residents. So thank you all very much again for coming. We really appreciate your time that you gave us.